Coming to you from Final Third Cigar and Whiskey Lounge in Ingalls, Indiana, Indiana's exclusive Aladino Cigar Lounge. It's the Final Third Podcast.
Welcome back to the Final Third Podcast. I'm Rob.
I'm Isaiah, and we got a couple special guests with us today.
Very special guests.
Yeah, so we've got Jake Sanders.
How's it going, guys?
With Crown Heads, which Rob and I hate that brand.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah.
I only have like 10 Crown Heads hats because
wearing my
honestly,
favorite.
they're the best in the game.
They are.
True fan would
yeah.
have 20.
I don't even
though,
have that
would
one. That's a
imagine.
nice one.
I found one down in Florida.
The TAA stuff.
Yeah, one of the TAA
Yeah.
stores. I got them down there.
Oh, yeah.
This is probably my favorite hat to wear, though.
Oh, yeah.
That's the best one.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Introduce our other guest, Rob.
So this is Jason from Angel's Envy. And Jason, I can't remember your last name.
Faust.
Jason Faust.
I couldn't remember his last name either.
Yeah.
Of course, nobody told me.
He's a
but
big
I-
dog.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's why I
I'm
was
just
trying
a
to get
first name
Rob
guy
to
anyway.
stumble over it.
Yeah.
So.
So Jason is the Indiana rep. Is that right? Or the Midwest rep?
I'm the regional advocacy manager. So I
okay.
manage our ambassador team for the Midwest.
Gotcha.
So I
Okay.
cover about 13 states.
Regional
About
advocacy
17 people on the
manager.
team.
That sounds kind of woke.
Which what is the title for the ambassadors?
Oh, great question. Whiskey Guardians.
Whiskey Guardians.
Wow.
Could you imagine having that title? It's the best title ever.
You know,
No,
when-
honestly, it's a high honor.
That's
It-
your
I mean-
Be a
Instagram,
guardian
too,
of
isn't it?
the
Indeed.
whiskey.
Yeah. So Whiskey Guardian Indy
That's what
is
I
kind of our
thought.
local.
Okay.
And every
Wow.
market's got their own. But yeah, it's the largest ambassador network for any brand in the world.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we've
That's
got.
awesome.
I mean, it's peak. There's a little bit of flex there, but 50. We pushed 60 at one point around pre-COVID, but yeah, it's a definitely special title, and Angels, you start to make the connection, Guardians,
Oh, yeah.
and yeah, it's fun. When marketing hits right, they do a great job.
Well,
Your
and
guys' branding is wild.
It
the
really
way
is
it's come about
fantastic.
in the last however many years is pretty extensive.
And that's a fantastic point. I'm glad you noticed, because we're young. We're 12 years old, and bourbon is rustic, right? There's so much history and tradition, and so much the purist on kind of how it's made. But we came into the game a little late, but we came in with somebody like Lincoln Henderson, right? Inaugural inductee into the Bourbon Hall of Fame, master distiller, Brown Foreman for 40 years. We had the street cred coming into it, but we are taking this more of a modern bourbon approach.
Yeah.
Less of the rustic woods and coppers and things, more into that modern look. And you'll see a lot in our branding and our beautiful color and gold color schemes. And
Yeah. Well, we'll get
the way
into
we
more of that
present.
here in a minute, too.
I know.
Let's go
Don't
just-
get me started. Don't get me started.
No, we want to talk about all that stuff. But one thing, we're going to be smoking the Blood Medicine on the show today.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is an event-only cigar, and we're having an event with Crowned Heads and Angel's Envy today.
This is our first joint event, isn't it? Or at
had-
least
no,
the
we've had-
first one that
with
people
a cigar
care
and
about.
bourbon.
Hey, I mean,
Cigar and bourbon. This is
Love
the first
that.
one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
honored.
And then we're going to be pairing this today with some Angel's Envy offerings. So
Yeah,
you want to tell us a little bit about the Angel's Envy offerings?
Yeah, we kind of pulled out all the back of the liquor cabinet, meaning the secret stuff we could here.
Jason's secret stash.
Yeah,
I know about that.
Yeah, he does.
It's good
Jake
stuff.
and I have had many of those sessions. But we've got our core products, our flagship bourbon finished in port wine barrels, our rye whiskey finished in Caribbean rum barrels. We have a single barrel, which we just brought back about 3 years ago-ish, after about a 5-year hiatus.
Yeah.
It's a pretty special program. We could talk about it a little bit too. But we've got a local pick from Total Wine there.
Nice.
And I've also brought out a little bit of our recently released cask strength.
Oh, yes.
Our annual release this year. We've got a taster there.
Oh, yeah.
And then a sample of one of our private barrels.
Wow,
which,
man.
Again, some of the secret stash. That one's
Yeah.
coming in at 122.6. But these are the samples that go out, which I know, Rob, you've done some single barrels, but
Yeah.
to taste and kind of select what barrel you want. So if you get a little bit more of a straight from the barrel without that in the cask
Very nice.
look into what comes in the bottle. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Jake, on this
Yeah.
cigar, do you disclose what the blend is?
So
on
we
this?
used to.
Okay.
And what I mean by used to, there used to be a cigar called Snake Oil.
Okay.
And that was kind of an event only kind of thing that we had before I was with Crowned Heads. John Huber and the guy, Mike Condor and the hierarchy, of Crowned Heads kind of wanted to play off of the term snake oil and everything. So they wanted to kind of play off of this, how it's a necessity to have these like promotional items and kind of make a joke about that. But
Sure.
So they did blood medicine and brought that back a few years ago. And unfortunately, they did not disclose what that blend is. However, from what I know with John and everything and talking with him, it's pretty much the same blend, if not just slightly tweaked. I believe it's an Ecuadorian Habano wrapper. This comes out of Aradio Pichardo's factory in Esteli, Nicaragua, called Tacanixa. It used to be called Pichardo, but since the stuff with Luciano and stuff and that split last year.
Wait, what stuff? Would you like to talk to us all
It's a
about
lot of stuff. It's a lot of
Just
stuff. There was a
kidding.
split.
Give us the tea.
They're with
No, we-
ATL now and doing their other thing, and we wish them the best and everything. But there was a split.
ATL, a
yeah.
thriving brand.
Yeah, so we could go down that rabbit hole. But as far as blood medicine goes, they come in a 4-pack now. They're event only, so most of them are box purchases. They have a little great story here that John came up with. If you have the time, read it because it's actually hilarious.
It is.
But it was based off of a mural that is in downtown Nashville. It is in a building that I believe is now a hotel, but it used to be a pharmacy back in the Prohibition days. So they made this mural called Blood Medicine. And it's actually on the wall down there. And that's what we wanted to do to pay tribute to being from Nashville and our headquarters being in Nashville.
Very cool.
So, but it's medium body. It's a fantastic cigar. These packs come with 4 Robusto size cigars, 5 inches by 50 ring gauge. It's actually, in my opinion, one of the best cigars that we've come out with.
Yeah.
But with it being a promotional item, obviously, you got to buy boxes and do that.
I think
whole thing.
Yep.
it definitely, if this were a shelf staple, like that would probably knock the Mil Diaz off of its very high pull for me.
I think
I would say the same thing about the Lost Angel, because Rob got me a Lost Angel from a TAA shop.
Yeah. For this year?
It was last year.
Last year's?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was shocked that I had never had that cigar.
Yeah.
Also one of your best blends.
Yeah, and that one's shifted a lot too. Like it used to be called Angel's Anvil.
Yeah.
Someone gave me one from 2018, and that thing blew me away.
Yeah.
Mil Diaz, however, which stands for 1,000 Days for those that don't know, and it has the red M on it. That's our best seller, and that holds a special place in my heart. So I kind of agree with your statement, but I still love Mil Diaz. But Blood Medicine is fantastic as well.
Marinitos EL 2022. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah.
So this one here, the Fino, the
Bellicoso Finos, yeah.
What's the blend on that one?
It's the same blend.
Same blend as Mil Diaz.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
Macho
Mil
wrapper.
Diaz, the blend is a 4-country blend. It has an Ecuadorian Habano wrapper leaf. This is also made at Tacanixa, Aradio Pichardo's factory in Esteli, Nicaragua.
Gotcha.
It's got an Ecuadorian Habano wrapper. It's got Nicaraguan binder, and then it has Peruvian, Costa Rican, and Nicaraguan fillers.
Gotcha.
And I think that's what makes that blend so special.
Cool.
Just because it's got this like saltiness with cream and nutty and like all. It's just a very easy smoking cigar. You can smoke it if you're a novice, and you can smoke it if you're an experienced smoker, and you can enjoy it in any setting. So
Absolutely.
But that's the same way I feel about Blood Medicine too. So
Exactly.
Cool.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into a pour.
Yeah, steak.
Tell us what we're starting with.
So I just want to start at the beginning, right? I think and Jake, you have some input here, but
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah,
Come
you're-
with the proper.
I got
tools.
everything, man.
Real man. But yeah, I'd love to hear your input. But I think with this cigar, I think starting with the flagship bourbon, finishing port wine barrels would be a good partner here. But see, okay, it's not just
I just
me.
take the
No,
blade
no.
all the way around when I do it.
Yeah. Well,
But this, I do want to mention we don't, we're started with humble beginnings, the Henderson family. So Lincoln, as I mentioned, him and his son Wes started our brand. this would be Lincoln's only other project outside of Brown Forman.
Okay.
You know, he passed unfortunately in 2013, but he was able to see the groundbreaking of the distillery, and but he has this famous black book. They just had all these ideas, but this finishing piece, the secondary maturation, if you will, was always a big interest of his. And you know, the overseas, they've been doing it for a long, long time. Scotch, and you know, they've been secondary aging for years, decades. But in bourbon, you know, it's bourbon. You don't really mess with it. But
Yeah.
Lincoln wanted to, and
Especially Kentucky bourbon.
yes, sir. Right. There's that. You know, the purists will say, "How dare you?" But you know, there's now that you see, I mean, shelves full of different finishes, and it's exciting because you can just see what that subtle differences those secondary barrels can bring. But Lincoln had this idea, and to you know, try some of these finishes. Port. A lot of people ask why port. Honestly, the fun fact is that that's what we could really get a hold of at the time. And 12 years ago, there wasn't really much of it out there at all. I mean, we weren't the first to do it, but we were the first to scale the category in terms of committing to a full portfolio of finished whiskeys.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we don't talk about that enough because we really did lead this charge. And so we're really trying to get that back into focus. And, you know, we've had 2 core products for a dozen years now. Give it a year and that will change. That's about all I can say now. But
Good.
And you guys were like the pioneers. Like I like to say, you guys were like the pioneers for
like that.
bringing the finishing to bourbon.
We've talked about
You
that
know,
too. I
it's-
felt like you guys were the first ones that I remember, at least mainstream.
Yeah.
that had
I
a
think
finish.
somebody did it first, but you guys made it cool.
Yeah.
Hey, see,
And you packaged it a lot better
man.
than anyone else,
Yeah.
probably.
Agreed. Yeah.
You know, again, they nailed it with that packaging.
Yeah.
You know, for as young as we are to be in the conversations that we are with these big brands, because we are number one in the premium bourbon category. They gauge that category at about the $50 bottle level, but you know, when we're the names of with the in that group of Basil Hayden's and Woodfords of the world, it's pretty special
Yeah.
at 12 years old. But they nailed it with that bottle, and the bottle was created organically. You know, with Angel's Envy was a conversation. The name Angel's Envy came from a conversation with Lincoln and his son Wes, trying some of these first barrels. And Lincoln is, you know, he was quirky but very particular. But he kind of had a comment of, "Man, this stuff's good. The Angels are going to be envious of this stuff because it wasn't the stuff that was lost to the angel share, if you know, is the evaporation that happens during aging." So light bulb moment. Let's call it Angel's Envy. They designed wings because that's one of the first things you think about with angels, and designed the bottle around the wings, and they wanted it less of a, oh my goodness, blast from the past. And so beautiful package. Now it's one of the most recognizable bottles on any shelf, and they nailed it. And they really wanted more of a bigger reach with the bottle too. You know, maybe pull out some of the masculinity out of you know, bourbon, because you know, women and whiskey drinking is on the rise. So you know, that was definitely a piece of it. But overall, yeah, I think going back to that, we really did bring it on a bigger scale. And you know, that first batch of 1,000 bottles is a blip on the radar in this industry.
Yeah.
So scaling is relative, but at the end of the day, yeah, you know, we're proud to actually do it. And like you said, the coolest ones to do it, and the best ones to do it.
I mean, seriously, that was I would have to guess like the first widely available on the bar vac finished whiskey product that I think that was really
Respect.
popularized. Like,
I feel like it's also one of those bottles that anybody into bourbon can enjoy. You can have someone that's brand new to
Good
bourbon
call.
that can still drink it because it's lower proof. It's
Yeah.
not going to knock you out. But someone that's a whiskey connoisseur can still appreciate and enjoy it for what it is too.
Well,
It
and
hits everyone's palate.
that's the same thing with their rye, which I know I'm kind of jumping the gun, and we don't need to pour that because I haven't hardly finished my first one.
We'll get to
I know,
But
I'm at
it's so easy to get into that rye that most people would say, I don't like rye. You pour them the Angel's Envy rye, and they're like,
Oh,
this
wait,
is
wait
a
a minute.
desserty rye. Like,
yeah.
Those
Which-
rum barrels, man, bring out this like the sweetness.
Yeah.
Is wild.
I have knocked it in the past because I love heavy medicinal ryes,
Sure.
but it's a dessert whiskey.
It is.
Like, for me, it's super sweet, super refined, and just like this, anybody can get into it. Even if kind of proof puts you off and you've been drinking Basil Hayden forever, like, this is not far off.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys nailed it. I mean, you need to get out in the streets for us. I mean, versatility is.
I've thought about repping.
Hey, man, versatility is a big a piece of that. Like you mentioned, the bourbon. Is it if you're for proof, it's going to be a soft, easy drinking bourbon, but a great way to get into bourbon, like you mentioned. But with that rye mash bill, it does still have that weight and that backbone to hold up in a cocktail.
Yeah.
If you want a Manhattan Old Fashioned, something like that.
Yeah.
And to your point on the rye, you're right, to be able to sip 100 proof rye.
Yeah.
And this is a 95% rye that rum barrel really transforms it. Now, you're right. You're going to put this in front of somebody to really showcase the rye category? Not at all, right? You're going to mislead them, but at the same time, it's so unique and it's fun to have something like that. And the port finish on the bourbon is very subtle, right? It's still bourbon. It's very core. Now, the rum influence on the rye whiskey,
Pretty heavy.
Yeah. So it's a fun take on that finishing process overall.
Now, how old's the whiskey before it's finished?
Good question. So the bourbon is average about 5 years, minimum 4. We push up to 6 typically.
And that's the same with the rye?
No, so rye's older. It's about 6.5 years.
Ooh, yeah.
Wow.
And then the finishing is also different. So bourbon, 4 to 6 years, but then spends up to 6 months in the port barrels. And I'll tell you a fun story about the when we launched. But the rye, it's a 6.5-year-old rye that spends up to 18 months in that rum barrel.
That's crazy.
So you're pushing, over 8 years in barrel with the rye, and that adds to that price a little bit.
Yep.
But because the ryes typically you don't really see a lot of old, those age statement ryes, but
Nope.
you're seeing more of them. But the fun fact about, if you look on our cork, there's on that outside of that cork it says 1010 expression. People might think we're rating it, but we're that fond of it, sure. But
It's a 10 out of 10.
Yeah,
We said
right?
so ourselves.
Yeah. We'll just let you know up front. But what that is the date, original launch date. October 2010 is when we had set to launch the brand officially. Well, Lincoln, in his stubbornness, to like any chef or somebody creating something special, they thought that port finishing wouldn't take as long. So when they were ready to start dumping these barrels and putting in the bottles, he's tasting some of these batches and like, this isn't ready. At least this isn't what I want it to be,
Right.
which is special. And so much to the let's just say they weren't real happy with everybody around him to say we're holding this. It didn't actually launch until about April of 2011.
Wow.
Because it needed that push more towards
I'm
that
sure
6
the
month.
investors were happy.
Yeah, exactly. That group that probably were very happy, but again, I think that it's a nod to Lincoln and any distiller that sets out to put something out and be proud of it and know exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And did a hell of a job, but that's still a fun story. So they left that just as a homage, to that commitment to perfection.
Awesome.
And
So you guys genuinely are a young brand to this scene, and especially to the Kentucky whiskey scene. But you're now even at the point where you're a kind of an integral stop on the Kentucky Bourbon Trail. Like every single, I don't know anyone that just like won't casually hit Angel's Envy in Old Forester while they're in Louisville.
Well, the distillery is beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's crazy. And it's right there. I mean, you see it from the
Downtown.
highway, like right when you go down 65. Like,
the original Whiskey Row, which is Main Street, Louisville, Kentucky, is where it was home to dozens of distilleries pre-Prohibition.
Yeah.
Well, that all went away, of course, not diving into the history of it all. But after Prohibition, we were the first ones to come back to Whiskey Row.
Okay.
Back in, our distillery opened in 2016, broke ground in 2013, I believe. And we were the first ones to come back downtown since you've had a big rush. We like to say we started that trend like we do everything else. But, you got a lot of great opportunities now downtown, like you said, where you don't have to go out east as far. We've got Rabbit Hole right around the corner. Forster and Michter's just open. Barstown just open. Evan Williams Experience.
Yeah.
You got a lot right there now where you can do a downtown version of a tour and then, separate. Because if you've been on a tour, it's easy to think, I'm going to go down and hit 5 or 6 of them in a day. Not a chance.
it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, you hit one. The second one, you're realizing, okay, this was not well planned
Maybe
out.
I need to eat.
Yeah, we go. Yeah, maybe less
That's for
taste.
sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
The other thing is the Angel's Envy distillery is absolutely beautiful. And it's someplace that even your non-whiskey drinking friends, you can con them into going just as long
Yeah.
as you get them in the front door.
For sure.
Because it's such a nice facility.
Yeah.
I can't. And
Vendome Copper,
thanks for
man,
selling this for
like-
me. Yeah.
Well, it's
You're welcome.
And I'm glad you brought up Vendome. You know, the premier copper still maker in the world is down the street from us.
Yeah.
And they don't do public tours, unfortunately. They're really great with their partners, and they've allowed us to come through and bring some groups through, similar to Kelvin Cooperage that we use a lot of. But
Yeah.
but it's a special thing downtown. And of course, we partner with them in what we do. And you're right, the distillery is beautiful. The fun fact that the location used to be a manufacturing facility. Did a couple things over the years before and after wars that Lincoln's father actually worked in, and they didn't really figure this out until after the fact. So it's fun to have between Lincoln, his son Wes, and Wes has 6 sons. That poor mom, but she's a saint, Julie. But they. You look at least what four generations of Hendersons in that building, but they did a good job of keeping some of those original walls and saving some of the. If you walk through there, you can see some of the structure and the conveyors that they left in there, just as a little bit of homage of the beginnings of that building. But then it's new and it feels, it's not. It's just it is what it is. There's not a lot of bells and whistles.
Yeah.
Very just look. This is our home. We'll welcome you in, but they do. I'm confident saying our experience is unmatched because of the people that we have at Brand Home, the experience that they create, and the welcome that they give you, and then the special things within the walls that you'll just have to go and figure out for yourself.
I have heard more times than not of people bringing their wives there and their wives spending more in chocolate.
Yes.
They did
Well,
in
that
bourbon.
chocolate, that little orange.
Chimere.
Yeah, that thing is awesome.
Those things, those have become famous, cult following. Art Eatables, shout out, Louisville, Kentucky, partnered with us to create those to pair with their bourbon. And then they have a special white chocolate to pair with our rye.
Yeah.
Sometimes we can pry it from their kung fu grip, to get it out in the field sometimes, but it is a special part of that experience, especially when that pairing piece, and that's things like this I love so much because getting different takes and like Jake and your take on the cigar pairing, which I've always loved cigars, but sitting down and really picking apart a cigar and picking apart a bourbon are two very different things, but it's a special thing when you can really create those nuances that work, because right now I think this blood medicine and the bourbon to me are really nice because you take a puff, take a sip, and for me and my palate, it's just kind of it's kind of a neutralizing effect to me where they just work. It doesn't make it, the smoke doesn't make the sting of the bourbon, worse or more intense and vice versa. But
For me, it adds quite a bit of the bourbon is really sweetening up the smoke of the cigar, and the
Yes.
cigar's contributing a certain nuttiness. It's really nice,
Yeah,
and it's kind of honestly, it's a great Christmas pairing.
It's like
you
this
get
like
that red
caramel,
fruit.
like pecan
Yeah.
like thing going
Yeah,
on, at least for me.
Yeah, just that little bit of baking spices too.
Especially taking the puff and then going into the whiskey,
Yeah.
it really pulls a lot more of that nuttiness out. For
Yeah.
sure.
Well, and I'm so glad that we were able to do this event tonight, and that was one thing that Jason and I've kind of talked about this for a really long time.
Quite some time,
because obviously, my history being at Burn, Jason did a lot of stuff downtown with us and a lot of events, but we never kind of did something to, I don't know, to a crowd that was maybe a little bit more closer together. When we would do stuff at Burn, everybody, it was big and everybody grabbed their cigars and grabbed their drinks and did whatever.
Yeah.
Today we're going to do a little bit more of diving into the pairing and us getting to show our personalities and our passions with
No doubt.
what we do. So that's why I was really happy that you had the time to do this because I've been
Agreed.
wanting to do it. One, I'm a fanboy too.
yeah, we've talked
So-
so many times, like I said, and we've shared a lot of late night pours in different ways and,
Well,
and
and with-
settings, but
With you being local, I know you're not local
Yeah.
anymore, but everyone that listens to this that didn't get out here on the event, you know what? Maybe we need to set you guys up and have another event next year and do
Yeah.
it again.
Yeah.
And get people hyped up for it again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm game.
Yep, and I'm glad you brought it up because we do, and Sean, he'll be back, but our local whiskey guardian for Indiana, we do have local representation, which is fun, and that's what's special about our Whiskey Garden program. Is that because of our reach, we can bring, because like Jake, you called it these intimate opportunities, where as a brand, it's where we want to be. We want to grow and be able to tell the story, because we have this nice, genuine story. It's not a manufactured, marketing story that sounds great, but deep down, it's just another new brand. We do have these special beginnings, and to be able to talk about it in this setting is special for us. And any chance we get, we'll take it. Especially pairing with somebody like you that gets it, especially in a different industry.
Well, yeah, and now that I think of it, just because I didn't know when Angels Envy first dropped, we Crowned Heads was started in 2011 as well.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
wow.
now we're 12 years as well. We're still on that boutique style branding, but we're in this shift where we have full reps across the country. So now this next year, I think a lot of people are going to start seeing a different side of Crowned Heads that maybe they didn't think was there before. Normally people think of grungy, kind of edgy a little bit, and I think we're going to start moving into the events and the elegance and the true side of what cigars are.
Yeah,
kind of
even
about.
getting into this, the blood medicine packs that you guys did, that was a whole complete new Crown Heads thing, and honestly, it's fantastic.
It is.
Yeah.
Anybody that smoked a blood medicine has said, "Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to buy another box to get more."
Exactly.
Blood medicine.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic. But you guys, particularly you and Oz Family Cigars, have had a great year.
Yeah, I think so.
A great
Yeah.
year for cigars.
Yeah,
you guys
we-
released the Lavaretta.
Lavaretta. Yep.
A couple different versions of the Mil Dias Marinitos.
Yeah, we did Marinitos, which had a different wrapper leaf on it. It had a Sumatra Maduro wrapper leaf on it. And then we wanted to finish out the year kind of piggybacking off of all the success that the brand has had with Crowned Heads. And so we just wanted to do a special size, which it's a Bellicoso Fino. For those that don't know, it's like a torpedo shape. But it's crazy with that cigar, in my opinion, that with each size, it just tastes a little different.
Yeah.
So with the torpedo, the pepper is in there, which you
And
don't
is
notice.
that the Sumatra wrapper on the?
That's a Habano.
Okay.
So that's the
That's just
original
like the
blend.
Mil
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It does. It tastes totally different. I had Lisa and I smoked one last night.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a different blend. That's
I
why
know.
I was asking.
I know.
I thought it was a totally different blend.
But it's not.
Great,
You guys
so.
have really knocked it out of the park this year.
Hey, you can keep talking if you want to. We need to get in the next bottle.
Oh yeah. What are we drinking
I got
next?
an empty bottle. I got
Hey,
an empty glass.
I'd
So
say,
Jake.
we can go to the rye, or we jump
Let's
into
go
some
to
of
the
the
rye, and
higher
then we'll
proof
jump
stuff.
up to the higher
Cool.
proof after that.
I like that. The rye, I'll mention while I'm opening this is, Jake, I'll just let you handle it
I'll
again.
get it. Thank you. Thanks.
I appreciate you.
I'll let you talk about it.
Yeah. This is another fun story. So I mentioned Wes Henderson, Lincoln's son. This was actually his idea. He had this idea to do rye whiskey and put it in a rum barrel to some degree. And Lincoln,
Cork pop.
That is a good
well
spot.
played,
Pop
sir.
right there. Oh yeah.
Yeah, Lincoln wasn't a fan of the idea, and Wes was really passionate about it, and they, worked it out as father and son, little tiff, and here we are, and something pretty special.
That's cool.
And it came out right after the bourbon did, about a year, and it's since been only the second of our year-round labels.
You just released a cask strength too.
So
right?
yep, that's the third, if you will, that comes out once a year this time of year. Pushed the date back this year because of our first ever 375s in the market, which is fun.
With the cask strength rye, sorry to interrupt, will that be considered a part of the seller's expressions?
So we have, no. Well, yes. So we've got, because of all these new things coming out, we've got our cellar collection that we've done, and you all may know, but between an Oloroso sherry, Madeira,
Tawny port.
tawny
That's where
port.
the ice wine was.
Yes.
Yeah.
The ice, the apple cider or the cider.
Ice cider
Ice
barrels.
cider,
That
yeah.
was the first ever rye variant we did, where So remove the rum barrels.
Honestly,
replace
the
it with
most
ice
creative
cider.
finishing I had seen in forever.
So
when
the
that
first
dropped.
that is a true first to be done.
believe
Cider
that.
barrels have been done, but ice cider, if you're not familiar, if you drink ice wine or those really sweet after dinner wines, like late harvest wines, that
Yeah.
they kind of get those grapes late in the season or frozen and locks in on those sugars, and you just get like port, where you get that little after dinner pour of an ounce or two, and really rich and sweet, but delightful. And so you think of that, and you put a high rye whiskey in there. Oh, it's this magical combination, and they killed that one with that. And like you said, with just not having been done before, and that was a visit from our some people on our team that had these were out of Eden Ciders out of Vermont, which do some digging. They're pretty well regarded cider company.
I don't know.
Cider producer. So they got some of their barrels, and this was just one of those. We should try this. We contacted them, got some of their barrels, put some rye in it, and lo and behold, that rye ice cider came out. Unfortunately, that we do so little of that, mainly because we can only get so many of those finishing barrels, but because of that time and process, and it's very labor intensive. Like I said, you're emptying these barrels and refilling them with these finishing barrels. So those usually are limited to about 7 or 8 states every year. I think we'll continue to try to expand on that. Cask strength. So the rye ice cider that was last year. So this year, for the first time ever, we released a cask strength rye.
Okay.
Now again, it's tough because Indiana unfortunately didn't get distribution. It goes to those 8 top tier states, which typically you probably name them all between your
Kentucky,
New York,
Tennessee.
Kentucky, Tennessee, Texas, Florida, California, and,
Yeah.
but Illinois. So they're there, but it was the first ever cask strength release. And I think I want to take this opportunity, too, to talk about Owen Martin, who is our new master distiller. He joined just over a year ago.
Very nice.
Still getting out there, really just getting out there. So Owen comes to us from Stranahan's. If you know Stranahan's,
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
talk about another pioneer in really
Yeah.
just the American malt category. And they've also done a lot of their own
Yeah,
finishing.
their finishing stuff has been.
Their
So
Oloroso
you can
is
talk
really great.
about a better fit for our brand, not only not having known and gotten to know him at this point, a fit for our culture and our brand, and somebody to have out there in the field, because he's us, right? He wants to sit down and do this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he will nerd out, and I use the term nerds with all respect, because I'm one of them.
We're them,
But
yes. Yeah.
he's this rye cask strength was his first official release as our master distiller.
Wow.
So it's tough because it's. I hate that we can't sit here and try it, but those things, more of his stuff out of his brain will come out. But yeah, so all that inspired by this and our rye whiskey finished in Caribbean rum barrels, and these rum barrels are actually part of Bacardi.
Okay.
So if you're not familiar, we were acquired by Bacardi in 2015. They've really left us to operate the same. I mean, I've been with the brand 7 years. In 7 years, they've let us continue to grow the brand as we've done. And they've been a huge supporter of that. And it's been a great opportunity to be a part of that portfolio, because everything else in their portfolio fits. Just with
Yeah.
that premium space. But that being said, naturally we've converted. If you know the rye, we used to use Plantation. They're XO barrels, but now we've moved to the rye. I'm sorry, the Bacardi Ocho, which is
Okay.
their 8-year age. A little bit of their Limitada, which is a very limited release, but still offers that same nice richness that rum does. And as you can see, and if you've been drinking the rye the last couple of years, you may have not noticed the transition, which
Sure.
is pretty special to be able to make that leap and have, look, if you drink a lot of it, you're going to notice differences. And I think even year to year, because of that finishing aspect, if you're one of those super tasters, I am not one, you may notice a little bit of sweetness difference, because as we all know, that rye gives off that sweetness from that rum barrel. And
I'm telling you right now, the pairing together is like if rum cake and creme brulee had a baby.
I was
With
thinking
it.
like butterscotch pancakes.
I can see it. Same world. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's
yeah, you're not kidding. I just found it that immediate taste. I have a new favorite pairing with the cigar. So don't listen to
very
me on
good
the
together.
pairings.
Very good together.
It's hard to mess up a pairing with the rye because of the sweetness.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I
like,
think that is one of those that would
Okay.
go with any cigar, full bodied, mild, whatever.
I think you'd have to watch some of the fuller bodied because they might just walk all over it.
yeah.
It could, but one
Because
with
it doesn't
some good
have
pepper.
it doesn't have as much spice on it.
I think the
But
pepper
I
in
think
a
the
cigar
port
would be good in
the
it.
port
Well,
finish would be fantastic.
And
with
that's
some of
what,
fuller
like with the
body.
pairing
feel that.
today, we're doing with the Lake Creme, correct?
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be really good with the rye for the consumers that come in today and do that pairing. And then
Cool.
we're doing the Mil Diaz with the port. So,
Nice,
Gotcha.
nice.
yeah, I think it's going to be really, really cool because the
Well-
Lake Careme's got a Connecticut broadleaf wrapper and it's very oily, it's very rich, but it has like that. It has those dark fruit notes along with some pepper and stuff, and
Okay.
leather and earthy.
Yeah.
So that's going to go really well with that sweetness and kind of counteract that a little bit. So
And I'm glad you brought that up because that is so intriguing to me because I think with any pairing and tasting, we do a lot of bourbon tasting, pairing dinners, those types of things. Of what you see a lot with bourbon dinners and we really try to push out of this mold is that, you have a meal with the taste, and that's
Yeah.
fine. But, we want liquid to lips, as we call it in the industry. We want people to try it because we're confident that once you try it, you'll understand. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's important, but we like the exploration like we did with finishing, right? Is explore it with the food and like in this case with cigars and it's easy to think that, oh man, I've got this big bold bourbon, I need a cigar to match.
Yeah.
But it might be easy. I always refer, I had a chef lay out sugar to me one time where it's easy to think that, okay, you've got this big sweet dessert, you want maybe something a little bit more savory in a cocktail to pair with it. Well, no, that's not the case because you actually want something a little slightly sweeter to sip with dessert, and that's why you get these ports and nice wines
Yeah.
to sip with dessert because it's actually better match in terms of the way it reacts to palate and the food because you want that the Brix levels, that sugar level in foods that you want to be slightly close.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, okay, I want something to counteract.
Yeah.
And it's intriguing to me, and I love hearing these takes on these kinds of things because it's not what you might expect, especially when you just think bold with bold or light with light, mild with mild, whatever that may be. You never know especially with cigars, when that wrap can be a lot different than that
Yeah.
fill. And
yep.
Absolutely, yeah.
So Jake, you just had a territory change.
I added to my
Added.
territory.
You added
Yeah,
to it.
yeah.
So
I
you're
added
even more
Indiana.
spread out now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what
It's
are
on.
all your territories right now?
So technically, I have all of Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, Western PA. Technically, I have West Virginia. I have upstate New York and New England. So
it's just a simple hop
So
back and forth.
it's
how
like the-
often are you home?
I do well. I feel like in balancing that.
Yeah.
It depends on my event schedule. In my opinion, I think I've done more events than any other rep, like in our territory this year thus
Yeah.
far. So it's been kind of crazy, and I try to balance out like my visits and getting around with my events, but obviously sometimes that doesn't always work.
Yeah.
If I'm lucky, I'll be on the road for a week and then I'll be home for a week. That way it gives me some time to have office days at home.
Keep the missus happy.
And keep the dog happy.
Yeah, there we go.
But I would say, especially with my New England being part of my territory, a lot of that, unfortunately, is Zoom calls and phone calls and texts and stuff like that and emails. So even though I love all my New England shops and lounges because there's some great lounges out there and great people, I unfortunately am only able to cover most of just the Midwest section, like with Ohio and Michigan and Western PA and Indiana. So, but I've been meaning for a long time, and I know you guys are happy about it, but I've been meaning for a long time to get Indiana back, just because obviously I grew a relationship with you guys when you first opened, and you guys are always so good to me, and I appreciate the camaraderie and always coming and hanging out and enjoying cigars and bourbon
And Jake, I got to give you a shout out because, like we mentioned, we've worked a lot in the past, but from a brand perspective, And I know why you got more territory. And like you said, so people like Jake, when we come into an event and as a brand, we don't want, everyone says they're going to do it. Everyone sets out to do it, to say, we're going to do this thing differently. And, it doesn't always translate. But when you have people like you that get it, that share the same passion, that want to present something and break the mold and really create a experience, it's people like you that make it so much more fun, because when we do come in, it's not just another work day. Oh, I got to do this extra thing. It's, yes, let's do this. How can we stretch this? How can we get creative and present it and, bring the education? And so, people like you, it makes our jobs easier, a lot more fun, especially the ambassador team, because, keeps the fuel and the fire lit in them, because they can have fun with it instead of, that's when the separation between when it becomes work, but when you can still see and present the passion.
Yep. And that's something that we're trying to do here, is do different events, not, and there's nothing wrong with cigar shops to do the basic buy 4, get 1, same event there's nothing wrong with that, because you get some great cigars and stuff. I like doing stuff like this where we can introduce people to 2 different things and show how they play together. And it's always fun to do events that are a little bit off the wall, and let people experience a whole different animal that way.
Well, and I think, like, to your point, Jason, I think, like, a lot of people, especially in this, being a brand ambassador or like a rep, or it sometimes I think people look at it as like a sleazy salesman, like they're just pushing their brand and stuff like that. But
which there are the fair share of those.
There's
in
a
the
fair
cigar
share,
industry.
But
I respect the hustle.
Yeah, they have a job.
But with us, like, it should be fun for us too, and you're creating an experience for both of us. You're creating an experience for everybody, the consumer, everybody in the lounge or the shop. And it's just really important to be around good people and to have good people around you.
And that's lasting impression. Right. It's because you're right. There's bourbons and cigars. You walk up to the wall right next to us, or on both sides of us, between whiskey and bourbon and cigars, and you don't know much about it. It's like, okay, well, then what's the next step? It's like, okay, wow, well, you know what? I went to this event and, I had a really great experience. I'm going to try that out. I know more about this now, so I can have confidence in it. And, maybe I can talk to my friends more intelligently about it. And I think it starts that cycle. And you're right, Jake, I think at the end of the day, that meaningful connection, and we throw that term around a lot in what we do, is finding those meaningful connections. If it's one-on-one, if it's in your educational opportunities and the things like this, that you all give us the chance to do that. So, it's a shared respect across the board.
So, Jake, you've been on the show before.
Yeah.
And we've also had Dave, when he was still our rep, on the show.
Yep.
But for those who have not listened to either of those shows, can you give us a quick rundown of, like, who is Crowned Heads and why should I care about it?
While he's talking about that, crack open the Total Wine.
I get that.
We'll
it's
going.
good. So Crowned Heads was started in Nashville, Tennessee in 2011. What a lot of people don't know is that basically the hierarchy and everybody besides me and maybe one other person that work for Crowned Heads all came from CAO cigars back in the day. So if you don't know, CAO stood for Jano. His initials were CAO. And if you're familiar now with Osgener Family Cigars, it's kind of a hard name to pronounce. So if you just want to say Oz Family Cigars, that's fine too. But Tim Osgener, he's part of Crowned Heads. He's part of our hierarchy. And then, so he started last year Oz Family Cigars, or Osgener Family Cigars. And it's basically our sister brand. It's under the same roof. He's awesome. He's great. And he's bringing back kind of that culture that Jano instilled in all of the hierarchy of Crowned Heads back in the CAO days. So when CAO was acquired by General Cigars, or like now Scandinavian Tobacco Group owns it all, but that was back in 2007. Mike Conder, kind of our head guy, CEO, if you will, and then John Huber, Adam Shepard, our CFO. Everybody had worked at CAO Cigars, and when that was acquired, they left, and and then started Crowned Heads in 2011 in Nashville, like I said. I think one important thing is to mention about Crowned Heads, just to be fully transparent. We don't have our own factories. We don't have our own fields. So that brings up the good point is like, well, why should we care about you? Because you're just blending cigars and basically selling them. So, but I think it's important to mention that everybody, all those morals and all that hard work that came from the CAO days has gone into the branding and our famous hats that you guys wear, and that's kind of our shtick in the industry. And the fact that John puts his heart and his soul into every blend that we do. If you're wondering, we use factories such as Ernesto Perez Carrillo and the Dominican Republic. We have a great relationship with him. Ernesto's really come into his own with his 2 number 1s and his number 2 cigars of the year, along with the Encore and the Pledge. And the Allegiance has been my new favorite out of their lineup. And then he did the Pledge of Allegiance. So, but we also use Tacanixa, which is a Radio Pichardo's factory in Esteli, Nicaragua. We've regained a relationship with Naxa, which is Nicaragua America Cigar SA. They're mostly known for doing stuff with Steve Saka and Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust. We also use, if you're familiar with my father's cigars, so if you're familiar with Pepin Garcia, he's one of the godfathers of the industry too. So we use him for a couple of our different blends, like Jericho Hill, or Las Calaveras, which is a worldwide hit every year, which is a kind of an annual release. That we use that with Pepin Garcia, and we do that with him. So our relationships are so big in this industry, and we rely on them to make the cigars that we do. But everything goes through John, and he'll even say that, if you follow us on Instagram, it's the Crowned Heads on Instagram and Twitter and blah blah blah. But
it just feels like John's personal account.
It is his personal account.
Yeah.
And John is so transparent. He's so down to earth. If you talk to him, a lot of you have these master blenders and people that call themselves like that stuff, and John knows that he calls himself he's a validator. He's just validating these blends, but it's all him. I mean, so it's in the branding and everything that comes from Crowned Heads is very important. So I think we have some really, really great cigars. Unfortunately, I think there's a part in the industry right now where there's so many different brands. Like it's becoming how the bourbon industry is a little bit, and the whiskey industry.
No doubt.
And so we have to do a good job of setting ourselves apart. Yeah. And I think, in my opinion, the number one thing in that is doing events like this, getting people like me that work for the company that care about this stuff and care about the people that are coming out, spending their hard-earned money, and making a connection with them, because that's like what you said, Jason, that there's a lasting, impressionable connection.
It's that brand loyalty.
Yeah. So
Opportunity to
and I will say, and
that.
I've told you this before, and I know you don't toot your own horn. You were a great pickup for
I appreciate
Crowned Heads. I mean, you are passionate, you're young, but you also have a amazing palate for both. And I think that, the things you're doing for Crowned Heads is probably going to take them to a whole new level. So I'm super excited to have you. We love Dave. Dave's a great guy.
Yep.
We're super excited. We had more of a
too.
relationship with you, so we're glad to have you here.
So on that factory stuff and how your model is, I think the whiskey equivalent to that would be barrel bourbon. Like they're sourcing stuff and blending and all of that stuff. So it's a very common thing in the whiskey world
for sure.
Kind of do that same model. Yeah. It's becoming even more common in the cigar world. But again, just it's not a knock to not own your own factory.
Right.
In fact, I think it gives you an even wider flavor profile that you can build.
So we've had a little whiskey in this now, so I'm going to ask you a question.
Yeah, I'm a little warm.
Yeah, there we go.
So I saw a new cigar was released by Luciano this week called the Underrated.
Yeah, I noticed that.
So is that just overcompensating for all the overrated shit he did before?
Get him.
I'm not.
You don't have to answer
Yeah,
that question.
I don't know what to really
That's me.
add to that.
That's me.
But there's some stuff going on behind the scenes that I can't
Like a
really
lawsuit.
discuss. So,
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I'm just
they're
messing with
doing
you.
them, we're doing us, and we're better for it.
Yes,
So-
absolutely, you are. For
So
sure.
we get
Yeah.
to focus on our brand. We get to focus on what we need to do. We get to focus on Osgener Family Cigars.
Yes.
Which is a way better brand.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
The
So-
Aramis or Aramis,
Aramis,
yeah,
yeah. That's
whatever.
so
I
good,
don't
yeah.
care. So good.
Yeah, it's
So
great.
good.
Yeah.
And
And Tim does a lot of crazy, funky names for stuff.
Yeah.
His dad, Jono, was he was Armenian. His mother was from Turkey. So
Well-
there's Bosphorus, there's Aramas.
I'm sure
yeah.
most
Tyson
people don't have an
It's
issue with
crazy
it. I'm
names.
just a little redneck. So
Yeah.
it just happened.
Yeah.
Respect.
Well, and that Python Anastasia red this year,
Oh my gosh.
fantastic.
Yeah. It's
and
cool.
in a year of everybody coming out with a Sumatra cigar,
I know.
that was a special cigar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty
Very
cool.
special cigar. So
Would you? I'm curious about that. Was that a kind of the trend?
you know what's funny is
It's
I've
coming.
I've
It's
talked
like-
to so many brands, and I said, so did everybody say, hey, let's all come out with Sumatra? Because everybody came out with
Everybody
Sumatra
did
this year.
it this year.
Everyone's like, no, we just been growing it and aging it, and it just kind of happened.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of wild that it all hit this year.
was
And that was
just
my
like-
number one prediction
Yeah.
last year. I said Sumatra is going to be big next year, and everybody came out.
Well,
with it.
we saw a buildup of it last year, and
Yeah.
then it was like this year they must just be sitting on so many stocks.
Oh,
yeah.
It's like the Sumatra has replaced the Mexican San Andreas
For sure.
Yeah,
has.
and
Well, and I
part
think,
of me is a little
yeah.
bit sad about that, but there have been some
There'll
amazing
be more.
Sumatras.
There'll
Yeah.
be more.
And that's my prediction for next year is we're going to see a lot more San Andreas come back again.
Probably. I mean, Rocky's been kind of the king of the San Andreas, like in the last few
Yep.
years. But I think the Sumatra thing kind of came out along with, Pete Johnson, Ernesto Perez Carrillo, Ernesto. He has tons of Sumatra. He really loves Sumatra. He loves the
Yeah.
flavor profile that comes along with it. And we've used a ton of it. I know Espinosa's used a lot of it too recently, especially with darker Sumatras.
Yeah.
Fermenting the tobacco a little longer, and it's pretty cool to see. It's different. It's different because like I'm a Habano guy. Like Ecuadorian Habano is my jam. I think it's just right in the middle of the road. It's so versatile. You can play around with the fillers and the binders, and just do whatever you want with it.
Yeah.
Sumatra is like, in my opinion, pretty potent, and you can get it. You can get that flavor profile no matter what you do to the fillers and the binders. You're going to get that Sumatra flavor profile.
Sure.
So, classroom question here: Habano, right? It's you think okay, you got this lore of Cuban cigars and things, and
Yeah.
Habana, right? But is that in relation to any type of Cuban process leaf or?
Actually,
It's a good
I
question.
believe more the traditional old style Cuban was a lot of Corojo.
Yes.
Habano was something that they would use, but I think Corojo was kind of the seed that they pretty much everyone used down
Okay.
there. Habano is really kind of thinking taking off more once it got into Central America.
Yeah.
Okay.
And honestly, I think it's just I'm sure it just is a lot better. I think the soil in Central America is way
Yeah.
better. Cuban soil has been raped so bad now that it's almost unusable in a lot of the fields now.
Wow.
That's why, once you try a couple Cuban, you realize, all this
Which
stuff we get in
Rob and
America is way
I
better.
recently did a show where we smoked a couple Cubans that I had grabbed from a legit store in the Caribbean that was totally legal, and they sucked.
They were terrible.
Terrible.
Yeah.
And the thing is, to get a good one or one that would be considered good, you're going to pay $300
Yeah.
for a freaking Bahique or something. It's like that's just absolutely
Yeah.
stupid.
And good for them. I mean, look, they're good.
Yeah.
I mean, there are good ones out there. And again, going back to a great job of creating that, that perception of, I mean, the Cubans, the top, right?
It's the whole thing is like what we can't get is the best thing. It's
Right.
like
Yeah.
the bourbon market.
Oh, yeah, don't get
the
me started.
highly allocated stuff is the
Yeah.
best stuff because Blanton's, oh my god, it's the best thing ever. And it's like once you get your bottle, you're like, oh, it's bourbon.
Yeah. The same using the same grains and the
Exactly.
that
Exactly.
everyone. It's like, look, there's a lot of nuance in bourbons, and that's what I love about it.
Me
They're
too.
all good in their own right.
Yeah.
Is any bourbon worth $2,000 for a bottle? No. Not.
So are you guys going to start putting angel toppers out that just spell Angel's Envy?
Now, don't ruin it. I mean, of course it works. So
Honestly, it would kill.
I mean,
it would kill.
I'm not
pour
gonna lie.
out the angel's mouth.
Yeah, right. We got
Those old elk toppers are freaking cool.
They're cool.
Yeah.
By
And
the way-
like you said, collectability. I mean, you can't knock that. You're right.
By the
Anything
way,
like that.
Total Wine.
I'll tell you
did a
what.
great job.
I'm not
Great
gonna lie. I many of these it's because that's the fun part about single barrels is that every single barrel is different, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not going into the blend. And I do want to mention how ours is different because typically in single barrels, if say I know you've done single barrels,
Yep.
you go to a distillery and they pull out barrels that are ready. They might vary in years, and you taste the barrels and you say that's the one I want, whatever proof it's at. Sometimes it's a fixed proof, but
Right.
I want that barrel, and you get that one barrel before it goes into a blend, right? I mean, all bourbon is blended to some degree, unless it's a true single barrel or something. But for us, so that blending happens with the bourbon, right? So the bourbon is made, it's blended, it's aged. It's made, it's aged, it's blended, proper, and then it goes into that port wine barrel. So before that port wine barrel goes into the blend to go into the bottle, that's the barrel you pick. So it's as close to single barrel that we can get to stay true to our process. So you get that port barrel and you pick the port barrel. Port barrels typically are about 60 gallons instead of the standard 53. So you get more, and so that's why ours is a lot different. And we've got a unique process where if you visit the distillery and pick the barrel, you get to proof it yourself between 1 and 110. We talked earlier about how proof is king, and people want that expression closer to out of the barrels they can get, which I respect. But 110 proof, which is the max of a single barrel for us, isn't necessarily the best expression of that one barrel.
Right.
So what we see is people just going for that high proof, but that's why I love to see this one, for example, is would you mind grabbing that? Sorry, it's 101.5.
So it's pretty low.
101.1.
101.1.
Okay.
So they really went through the process to proof it between 100 and 110 to say, okay, this is the sweet spot for that barrel. And that's why our single barrels are dialed in even more in terms of that personalization to say, okay, I picked this barrel, but no, I actually proofed this barrel.
Yeah.
And so again, it's something that we do at Brandhome, which for us, we're down the road 2 hours, which is nice, but so it's a pretty unique process. So I always love to see when people have unique proofs, but this one in particular is pretty phenomenal.
Well, and that's a great idea and thing to do, especially for on premise like we are here. Because granted, our old Clifty pick that's 147.9 proof,
jeez, mama.
It doesn't move like an Angel's Envy at 100 proof would. So
I'm almost out already.
Are you really?
Well, there you go.
I believe it.
It's hit it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It has.
But different drinkers, and
It is.
you
Yeah.
know, if we were to proof that one down, it would hit a lot wider of an audience.
Well,
Yeah.
we talk about that
That's
a
a cool
lot.
thing
It's
to
like,
do.
people are like, oh, man, I know I should drink it neat. I'm like, no.
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 Yeah.
You drink it the way you like it. And I always tell people, like, yeah, you get a bottle, try it neat. Add a couple drops onto it, add a cube to it, whatever you want to do,
Yeah.
and find where you enjoy it, and that's where you drink it.
Yeah.
And if it proofs down to 80 proof and you love it,
Yeah.
drink it.
Done.
Who cares?
And for us, if it's our stuff, do whatever you want. Because
Yep.
you're right, and it changes so much too. That's the fun part, especially when you get in the higher proof. When you get the high proofs at 140, which is
It's a brandy.
right? Oh, okay.
It's a
Yeah,
brandy.
it's
a
a
little
brandy.
sweeter.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but you start to add that dilution. There's a scientific, or a chemical reaction when water and alcohol combine.
Yeah.
Right? It's not just it's watered down. That reacts, and what it does is it opens up flavors.
Yes.
And you get things that you wouldn't taste neat, and that's why I would say, okay, if you want to start neat, but take that journey. Right, add a couple drops of water, add an ice cube,
Yeah.
see what it does, and it's a fun journey, and that's what just takes tasting the another
Just
level.
don't try that journey with Basil Hayden's. It's too far gone.
It is. And we do feel like I think Basil is actually very entry level bourbon. Nothing wrong with that if you love it.
No.
Yeah.
But it's definitely, I feel like they've proofed it down beyond the flavor of what it should be.
I hate it.
Well,
I'm with you too.
I
I'm with
love bourbon. but
I'm a huge Beam fan too.
I'm a huge Beam fan,
Yeah.
but I've never understood the whole Basil Hayden thing. I think like they're like, yeah, it's light, and everybody has their own palates, and that's great.
Sure.
If you like it, drink it.
Yes.
For me, it's almost too oaky for me, and I don't know how, but it is bland.
I
but then
think-
you take Snob Creek next to it, and it's like, how is this even?
And I just tried
So
Knob
animal.
18, and it was phenomenal.
yeah.
This
but you
year's
nailed
Knob
it.
18 is fantastic.
And that's what I
It
just
is.
tried. It is fantastic.
Okay, so
and
we
you
are
nailed
going
it
to be
for
down
me,
to about
right?
15 minutes to finish. So we have a couple more to try.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
let's at least get into those and keep talking.
Jason and I could talk for
We got-
hours.
I know.
we got- no. This is
We
good.
say this every time.
You know,
So I'll let you
if
pick.
everybody would have showed up on time, we'd have had plenty of time.
Yeah, that's true. You
I'll
know,
see
the
when
cigar guy.
I'll see where the text says be there at 3.
Yeah. So why don't we just stay with single
Did I
barrel?
not tell you that?
I don't
Sorry.
think so.
So we're going to jump from 101.1 proof. So to this is 122.6.
All right.
Amazing.
You guys
So-
are doing these like little sample things with the flasks?
Honestly,
So-
that's a super
is
cool
sweet.
Yeah,
flask.
tell
Well,
the story on that
So
as you pour.
again, you talk about
As you
these
pour.
details. The brand is just so good, and I'm, it's just so lucky that, and listen, I'm with Angels Envy because I was a huge fan before, and I'm, to be able to get in this position is a privilege, and especially be around a team that we have. This kind of thought, right? Starting with the presentation. Okay,
Yep.
sure, we can send you the cast strength stuff in a glass vial and fine,
Yeah.
but we send these in these flasks, and they take a barrel straight.
And
from
these
the
like
are
a
just
$40 flask, too.
Yeah,
Like,
these
it's
are
not cheap.
Visky flasks.
Yes.
Which is
The
a
copper.
great
Copper.
barware brand.
and
Yeah.
they're changing a little bit. I think we're
me see this.
we continue to evolve. Yeah, I mean, take it straight from the thing.
Like,
if
give
you
me
want. But so this is we send the samples because look, we're lucky because we're close. So typically we can
Holy shit, look at the color on that.
get people. Oh wow,
Oh,
get
wow,
people
that's
down
dark.
down to brand home.
What?
Yeah,
That's-
man.
I'll let you.
We call Angels Envy Distillery brand home, right?
Because
Because it's our
color
home.
on that. Oh
Wow.
That is
God.
It's
that
like
is
chocolate.
port dark. Yeah.
I've never seen Angels Envy that.
If you're
No,
if you're
honestly,
watching
this is probably the
watching on
darkest I've seen.
YouTube, you can see the color in this.
Yeah.
It almost looks like
Wow.
you remember that black absinthe that we tried of
with
Alan.
Alan.
I cannot
Yeah.
get over how dark
Yeah.
that is.
That is pretty wild. And that's why I love these because so I'm lucky to, this is special because
But this is 122.
this is 122.6.
But can we get it at 122.6,
No.
please?
Exactly.
And that's what's special. And
It's
that's
so good.
These are things like this where look, I'm lucky to even have this.
Thanks,
Oh,
Jason.
dear Lord.
I
That's-
probably shouldn't, to be honest, but you know what?
That's the
We're here.
best Angels Envy I've ever had.
You need to tell them.
Oh my God.
Again, it's things like this where like-minded people these are the special moments where again, this is literally
Wow.
it. This is all
This
we
is
have.
creme brulee, Rob.
This is
Wow.
It has so much
Smoky.
vanilla. Yeah.
It's got a smoky.
Whose
thi-
barrel is this going to? Who's this going
So-
to?
Final third at 122.6 proof.
Oh my goodness, that's
So-
amazing.
That is fantastic. And
That port is just
Yeah.
there.
Dude, that does, and not on the Isla Scotch level, but that does the same thing the Isla Scotch does. That little bit of smokiness just pulls all the flavor together.
Well, and it rounds out that sweetness in there. And it's so like melted butter viscous on the palate.
You got to go back and tell them that's the best.
that brown butter, yeah.
That's
that's the
so
best
good.
Angels Envy I've ever had.
And this is what's cool because it's so unique, and this is the fun part about I guess the journey it goes through, right? This is straight out of the barrel. This specific barrel. This is what they came out of the barrel at this proof. They'll taste it, and yes, there's that piece where just give it to me like this. Well,
That's perfect.
We were talking about this earlier. Our cast strength is our cast strength, right? That comes out once a year. That's where
This
you
is
get
better
it
than your cash
at
strength.
119, 120. Well, and
That cast strength is delicious.
Which we
Oh,
have-
I know it's
we have this
delicious.
year's cast.
so this year's cast strength is 118.2, and it's phenomenal too. So
It is.
this is where we want to keep the proof here. We've got our single barrel selection, which you can get kind of in between that.
That's a little lower from past years, right?
It is. We've peaked at the lowest it's been is 117. I think we've peaked at 120. 122,
right?
I think. Yeah.
Like
you would know.
Well, the 2020 that was my favorite.
Yeah. Right.
That thing tastes. I think that was sitting around like 122.
Yeah. And I believe that's the highest we've. This is the
Maybe 122 is the perfect proof. Right?
But every barrel's different, right?
Every
This
barrel's
barrel,
different.
right?
I know this.
And
barrel's great.
And to your point, I don't know. This was a barrel. I don't know if it was selected or not.
It's
so tell me
amazing.
the process is they get these flasks,
Yep.
they try through them, they pick the one they want, then they have to proof that between
Yes.
100 and 110.
Correct.
Okay.
The next buyer right
And
here or there.
so, but let me
Are there options?
so
of getting
that is the,
122?
that's the experience you get at the distillery.
Gotcha.
Because so what we're doing is trying to because we know again it's just come to our house, right? Come to our house, take your coat off. Here's the remote. Have a beer while you wait. That kind of we want that experience at home at our brand home. Now, if you're in the field and say you can't make it to Kentucky, and
Sure.
and so that's where you just get the set 110.
Gotcha.
And we changed that a little bit because again, people want proof, which I respect.
Yeah.
And so instead of giving barrels and people just saying, give me the 110 proof version of that, which may not be the best representation. Let's just give them barrels that will be great at 110. That way we know that there's, that look, they're all great.
I
They're
can't
good.
imagine
It
a
is
better
so
representation.
good. That is so good.
So
This is pretty
let me
phenomenal.
back that up to what you just said because I want to make
If
sure
you
I
told me
understood.
this bottle was $200, I'd say okay.
Done.
Take my money.
Yeah.
Done. So if you go down to the distillery, can you pick at 122.6 proof?
No.
So anything you're getting, you have to proof it down to that 110 or under.
So we've
max 110. Yeah.
We've had some
Who do I need to
distilleries
talk to?
accidentally forget to proof things down for us. Would you guys be willing to do that?
Can we get
So-
someone to mess up?
like I said,
Just for an on-premise.
We're just giving you crap.
no,
right?
you should because these look.
Oh my god,
Like I said,
this is cult level.
That's
give it
amazing.
give it less
This
than a
is cult
year,
level.
and there'll be some things. All right,
Okay.
Some things.
just stay
just
I
tuned.
mean, this thing.
I'm just saying right now, this right here could
Yeah.
easily, if it was released as one barrel.
If this
could
was
easily
Midwinter
hit
Night's
secondary
Dram,
at
people would
stupid
buy
money.
it.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Like crazy.
It's great.
And look, that's the fun part about being 12 years old. We're just scratching the surface, right? We've
Right.
been able, to be able to, to get out there and really push it. And look,
Insane.
with the street cred we have is because of this foundation that they created with Leakin and now Owen taking the helm. Owen Martin is just going to launch this thing, and that's this is the point in our brand, like you mentioned, as you grow and we're still young in the grand scheme of the category, but to know that we've for 12 years we've really survived on these two brands year round with the cask strength once a year,
Yeah.
and these limited releases again, that Tawny Port, which is a 10-year bourbon by the way. It's still probably my favorite, but
That was
all these
amazing.
special releases that are all released at the distillery.
The Mizunara.
Yep.
That was crazy.
Yep. And we've got a special cellar collection thing coming out in February. That again will be limited. It's tough to talk about, but
Well, on
because
the
we're so close to Louisville, hey, if you get down there, it's an option.
So on the retailer side in Indiana, is that stuff I can get for the bar?
no,
Any of those things?
unfortunately, no.
Damn you.
I know, right? And that's why I bring this kind of stuff. It's like, hey, we
Just
go
a
straight to
poor
the source.
bar in Ingles, Indiana. You can't slip us a bottle or two.
Look,
We just do more events
exactly.
and have Jason come up. That way I get to hang out
Well,
with
and
him.
I'll just keep bringing the stuff from the briefcase. that-
You're gonna have to quit bringing it, otherwise there's gonna be a mob. And
I do believe we
will-
have to have an after hours again.
Well, and like I said, these kinds of things are special for us.
My
And
God.
when you look, we value it as a partnership. We're not just another activation, or as we call it, or another.
Yeah.
And Sean Cassidy arrived. Hey, Sean, just wave. Our local ambassador, and he was gracious enough to submit his cash strength sample that we give to them every year. But
Hell yeah.
but these kind of things are special
this is
because
his.
we see it as a partnership, right? We see it as you're giving your time to us, and we want to do the same, and we want to make it meaningful. And we're going to come in and not just say, hey, we know this is a two-way street. We hope to be added value for your clientele. We hope to obviously reach your clientele, and it should be that way. And it's not anyone like, hey, we're helping you or vice versa. It's no, we're doing this because we get each other, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this is special. And
Well, I'm
especially
going to tell
with
you right now, this one here, if of the last probably 6 months of all the bourbons I've tried, not our picks. I'm going to throw those off because I love our picks every time. This one may be the best thing I've tasted in the last 6 months, and I came off of just a couple of Garrison ones I fell in love with when I was in Florida and Texas.
Rob,
This
in
is
this
freaking
time frame,
delicious.
just remember you've had William Heaven Hill.
No,
7.
I will say Heaven Hill 17.
William
Yeah,
Heaven Hill
that's a little
17.
different.
Yeah,
And we
that's-
also
that's some good
special.
company.
killed a bottle of William LaRue.
I'm,
So-
I'm saying,
okay.
I'm saying though of ones I've never heard of.
okay.
Hey, we'll
This
just happen
is
to be in that
amazing.
company. So
This
This
is
is better than
amazing.
William LaRue. Sorry.
And
I just pissed a lot of people off. but
I
that's better than
don't
William
exactly
LaRue.
agree, but it's on a very similar plane.
It's a different animal.
It's
though.
so good. So
Oh
good.
my God.
And it just that finishing right there, like you're talking about Sumatra, and I think
Yeah.
finishing is it right now. Every brand has got some kind of secondary
It does.
finishing.
So are you guys gonna do Amberana?
That's what I was just gonna fucking say.
And by are you gonna do Amberana? Don't fucking do Amberana.
That's what's coming in February.
Cigar blend.
I know it.
Cigar
it
blend.
freaking is.
Please
I know
tell
that
me
is-
you're
Release
not.
at Final Third Cigar
No,
Blend. Angel's
no.
Envy.
Please don't.
That is not coming February, but I really Amberon obviously is out there.
Unfortunately.
A fun fact, I do want to tell you, Amberana casks. One of the first people to get those was against the Grain Brewery in Louisville. They had some connection, and I got the story from Owen, and I'll have to. I'm going to end there because I don't have substance behind it, but I've tasted a couple now, and it's interesting. Look, I think the secondary maturation influence is I think it can be overdone. I think we probably
Yes.
tasted several like that are overdone. I think there's ways that the nuances you can create to make it different, but look, Amberana, I don't, that's.
Yeah.
Is it coming out in February? No.
Thank
is
God.
it in? Look, we've got like over 20 barrels sitting, and I don't know. And this is back when we were just getting these finishing barrels, and just let's see the Oloroso, for example. That's a fun story, and I'm not making this up. Those Oloroso barrels were kind of sat and they were forgotten about. That's why it's one of the oldest finishing barrels that we've had, a couple years. So they tasted them. They're like, this is fantastic.
I hate to wrap this
Oh, I
up,
know.
but we
Yeah,
gotta
yeah,
get to
yeah.
go to. I
Yeah.
want to give a
Yeah.
quick shout out to Derek at Deadwood Live for this wonderful table that we've been
Yes.
sitting at, enjoying all these fantastic
beautiful
pours.
table.
It's
It is.
gorgeous.
You can find me on Instagram at the Whiskey Pastor. Where can they find you?
So, Angels Envy locally, I would go to Whiskey Garden Indy. Sean, our ambassador, will manage that page. But that's a spot to go to see what's happening locally.
Gotcha.
To see what kind of events are going on.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you're at?
So I'm at Jake's with an S _ Finer Life. It's just me. It's my personal page.
Yeah.
And then it's Crowned Heads is the Crowned Heads on Instagram and Twitter and all that.
You can always
so.
follow us at Final Third Cigar. So, thanks a lot, guys. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we can go for hours.
We're gonna have to do a second episode one time soon. So, guys, we'll see you next week. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.